Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. We've all seen it happen, right? A fantastic plan, a brilliant idea, and then somewhere along the way, it just completely falls apart. Well, today we're diving deep into the management function that's built to stop exactly that from happening. We're talking about controlling.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with why even the best plans can fail. Then we'll introduce the one tool every manager needs to fix it. After that, we'll look at its crucial partnership with planning, walk through the actual step-by-step process, and then we'll wrap it all up with the key things you need to remember.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about that moment. That moment when it all starts to go sideways. It's such a common story in business, a brilliant strategy on paper that somehow just doesn't deliver the results you were hoping for.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do so many great plans fail? Just imagine a mobile phone company, okay? They're at the absolute top of their game. Amazing market share, customers love them, they have a solid plan. But then, all of a sudden, sales targets are being missed and customer satisfaction just drops off a cliff. What's going on? What's the missing piece of the puzzle?
Well, this is what happens. It's like a domino effect. You miss your targets, which means you start wasting resources, time, money, effort, and that ultimately leads to unhappy customers. It's a massive red flag that your plan, no matter how good it was, is missing that one critical element: control.
So, how do you stop that chaos before it even starts? Well, that brings us right to section 2. Let's introduce the hero of our story today: controlling. This is the manager's ultimate guide to keeping the business on the right track. So, what is this controlling all about? Well, at its core, it's simply the process of making sure that what you plan to do is what's actually happening. It's about checking that your resources are being used in the best way possible to hit your goals. It's a purely goal-oriented function. The management gurus Kuntz and O'Donnell just nailed the definition here. It really boils down to two simple things: measuring what you've done against a standard and then fixing anything that's off course. Think of it like a loop. You measure, you compare, and you correct. Simple, but incredibly powerful. And the biggest, most obvious benefit? You actually achieve your goals. The control function is like a GPS for your business. It's constantly checking your progress. It tells you when you've taken a wrong turn, and it guides the whole organization back onto the right path. And this has a massive impact on your efficiency. I mean, think about it. When every single activity is being done according to a clear standard, you cut down on so much wasted time, wasted materials. It makes sure that every rupee, every hour, every resource is used as effectively as it can be. Now, this might sound a little strange, but a good control system can be a huge motivator. Really. When your employees know exactly what's expected of them, when they know the standards they're being measured against, it gives them total clarity and a clear target to aim for. And that, very often, leads to much better performance. A strong control system also brings order and discipline. Our source material has this fascinating story about a New York import-export company. They suspected some dishonesty was going on, so they put in a computer monitoring system, and what did they find? 2 employees were embezzling $3 million. That's a powerful lesson in how control can project a company from the inside out. Okay, let's move on to section 3 and see how this all connects. Because you see, it's pretty much impossible to talk about controlling without also talking about its other half, its inseparable twin: planning. Just think of them as two sides of the very same coin. Planning is prescriptive. It's where you think and decide on the path forward. But controlling, that's evaluative. It checks if those decisions actually led to the right actions. So planning sets the standards, and controlling checks your performance against those standards. They need each other. You often hear people say that planning is about looking ahead, while controlling is about looking back. But that's only half the story, really. Yes, controlling analyzes what's already happened, but all the corrective actions it generates, they are all about improving the future. It creates this brilliant feedback loop that makes your next plan even sharper. All right, let's get into section 4. So we know what controlling is, and we know why it's so important. Now for the really practical part. How do you actually do it? Let's walk through the process step by step. The whole control process is a really logical 5-step loop. It starts with setting your standards. Then you measure your actual performance. Then you compare the two, analyze any gaps or deviations, and finally, you take corrective action to get right back on track.
Now, here's a pro tip. When you're analyzing those deviations, you don't need to get lost in every tiny little detail. That's where this amazing principle called management by exception comes in. It basically says a manager should only focus on the big, significant problems that go beyond an acceptable limit. You also use something called critical point control to focus on your key result areas. The things that, if they go wrong, could really damage the whole organization.
And this quote from our source just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? If you try to control every single little thing, you will end up controlling absolutely nothing. Focus is the name of the game. And just like that, we're at our final section, making it stick. Let's wrap this all up by pulling out the most important things you need to take away from our explainer on management control. So let's boil it all down to 3 key things. First, just remember that control is the bridge that connects your plan to your reality. Second, planning and controlling are those inseparable twins. You cannot have one without the other. And finally, when you're using that 5-step process, always focus on what truly matters by using powerful ideas like management by exception. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Where in your own work, or even in your studies, could you apply just one of these control steps tomorrow to get a better result? Whether it's setting a clearer standard or just measuring your progress, it's a seriously powerful tool to have in your pocket. Thanks for watching.